Welcome to Around Town, featuring what's happening here in the greater Concord area. I'm your host, Dick Patten, joined by my director, Ian Marx, and we're here at the Immaculate Heart of Mary Church, which we thank you for your use of your studio. And I'm very pleased to have as my guest today, Ross Cunningham, who is actually the new, but yet he's been in there for a little bit now, superintendent of the Merrimack County House of Corrections in Bosquen. Well, I have to laugh because on TV you'll hear Boscawen, Bosquen, Boscawen, or something. It just amazes me how you can tell when nobody's from New England because they're sitting there at the news desk trying. And I was listening one day on Channel 9 and they made the remark, he called it something. I know Kevin Skaruper and Sean, what's his name down there, and McDonald and a few others personally. And I said, would you please tell them how to pronounce Bosquen? You know, it was crazy. And of course, I mean, the old timers always used to call it Bosquen.
Right.
How Quine get in there? I don't know, Boscawen.
Yeah.
It's always been Bosquen to me. But anyway, so welcome to that position. You took Ron White's place. Mm-hmm. And how's it been so far?
It's been, we've been moving forward. Took over in November, end of November. Ron, Mr. White had moved on and retired.
Yep.
He's now working the executive director of the Association of Counties.
Really?
Yep. And so we've been moving forward on several initiatives, kind of looking at the budget process and how we do business and a lot of internal things, a lot of reorganizing a bit, looking at positions and how we use them. The biggest effort has been working on the community corrections concept for us.
Yeah. And of course, the big thing that I wanted you to come on because not a lot has been said in the papers, but as a member of the county delegation, they've been trying to pursue the rehabilitation of the old Edna McKenna jail or house of corrections that's now basically in mothballs after they opened up the brand new one. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I can remember the old one before that. And it seems to be now, from what I understand, they did vote to the funds to renovate that. And what's going to go in there now? Because it's not going to be really holding cells anymore. It's going to be for...
So it's our, the Community Correction Initiative is to move our programming component into the facility, which would be roughly a 60 to 80 day inpatient treatment program for both substance abuse, co-occurring issues, and criminogenic issues. Past that, there'll be work release in the building, electronic monitoring, which is people living in the community with an electronic monitoring device on their ankle.
Yeah.
And then there'd be workers that are working on the complex. Presently, we put a workforce on the complex, for example, to mow the lawns and do facility maintenance. So that group will come out of there. So what we're talking about is retrofitting the old Edna McKenna facility into a community corrections center, and it's our goal to actually use that as a model that has been done throughout the country, to to basically have them be more productive members of society, understand the processes that has to do with reentry, having them reentry back to society in a supervised way. So our program model is based off a inpatient time and then 12 months in the community supervision with aftercare. So aftercare means that they have to check in once a week, do group work with a clinical staff member or our staff, urinalysis, and a dialogue back and forth. That lasts for a year from their release. There's strong statistical information to show upwards of 30% success. My past life at Sullivan County, when I was a superintendent there for almost 8 years, our rate of return was roughly 54%. Today it fluctuates there between 17 to 19%.
Really?
So that this model is being replicated, but it's Merrimack County's model. And we're going to need a couple of years to vet out the data to see how we're doing, but right now we're at about 54%. And I hope and know that we will apply everything to move forward and move in a positive direction. So the vote to do the renovations to the Edna McKenna was a huge step forward in making a safer community and a definitely more positive step forward for people in this county.
Oh, really, in a way, why not? I mean, I've driven past there many times going to Franklin or up to Bristol to my grandparents' graves in the cemetery, and I've always wondered, why not do something with it? And so at least I think I mean, not that I'm a county the delegation, but I think it's great, the idea what you've got come up with there, and putting this back into business. But I've always wondered, and maybe you can't answer this, but for years, I can remember as a kid, and we've talked about this off camera, but that Merrimack County, and most of the county, I hate to say county farms, but that's how they used to call them, but they always had cows up there. And then they stopped. And I don't know why they ever did, but because Grafton still has the animals up there, and the inmates work out there with them. And then they stopped at Merrimack County. They said they couldn't have the inmates out there working. Mm-hmm. Why? If they're going to be mowing the lawns, what's the difference between that and feeding the cows? Whatever. I mean, it just seems like it would be a big help with their food and stuff, but I don't know.
I don't know the complete reason why they have moved away from that aspect.
Yeah.
I never really had, in my tenure, I haven't necessarily got into the whys, where they went and why they chose the path they do. Down the line, if it was something that we pursued, it makes a lot of sense. If you can create a sustainable model and sustain it, and actually use some of the materials, for example, having a large garden to maybe help feed the population as far as the inmate population, or perhaps other things. One of the things we did at Sullivan County was we had a huge garden plot, and what we did is through the food shelters had them come and get fresh vegetables.
Yeah.
Those are types of initiatives that sound like good ones. It just takes time to really figure out the best way to handle it and the best way to manage it. A community correction center certainly helps because you have a larger, ready and willing, able workforce, and that would be an exciting venture for us to take. But I would not know the reason why why they chose the path they did to move away from the farming aspect.
Yeah, because after they did that, then they converted the barns or whatever into plants or flowers or something like that. It's up on the hill. I don't hear about that anymore. Was that Cooperative Extension that did that, or what was that all about? That stopped too, didn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
What that was about either.
To me, whatever you could do the population there, give them something to do. I don't know. I just think it's and again, like you said, like Grafton. Again, they have in the summertime a big food, vegetables and fruits out there for sale on the side of the road as you're going past the complex up there. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, just to me it seems like would be a productive way to do things, but I don't know. And I know they do haying up there, or at least they used to do haying up there.
Yes, I believe they still
And
do.
they were cutting lumber or wood up and back there, if I remember right. 2 trees down, if I can remember, too.
Yeah, I believe they do some logging services at different times, yes.
But I don't know. Like I said, I'm not one of the... I don't know much about things up there, but I do know that when they built the brand new nursing home up there, that was quite the facility. Mm-hmm. And they tore down, I think, the old part of... They tore down Garish Manor, but then they moved them into a part of the other wing, I think, because downstairs is where the sheriff's office. Where's your office is over across the street too?
My office is in the new jail. Yes.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, they've done a lot of retrofitting at the sheriff's offices and the old McLeod building, and that's where the sheriff's office is off a wing of that.
Yeah. Okay.
And then they put county administration over there also in a wing of the McLeod building. And Garish Manor, the assisted living, is on one end.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, because it's quite a nice area up there. But and like I asked you the other day there too, Ross, that one building that sits on as you go up right there, it sits right there, and somehow it looks like a church. But then I don't know if it was a chapel at one time or what. Mm-hmm. But it was right there, and it's. As far as I know, it's not even being used, but maybe it is, and I don't realize that.
It's I believe you're talking about the old MSU building, and it had a new roof put on it, and they're talking about the plans to move the maintenance department's wood shop and materials shops over to that building once they're doing some renovations above the existing jail. Above the existing sheriff's office.
Is it?
They're going to be moving visitation over there.
Oh, okay. Is it?
I believe. I don't know.
Is it that big though? That building? Because as you drive by, it looks like it's just like a size of a house or something. But
no, I believe it has enough. I believe it has 2 stories in it. I've never been in it, but that's what I understand is some of the plans they're discussing on doing.
Now you also house the female inmates up there too, right?
Correct.
How many do you have up there?
Today our count's roughly 35. We've definitely reached our capacity and gone over. It's been a little bit of a struggle for us, but we're managing that population as best we can.
Now, do you think when they build the brand new women's prison in Concord that maybe you can do something with them to bring the women down here, or just keep them up here in Bosco?
Well, the 2 separate populations. I think the jail population has pretrial and up to a year sentence, and anybody in the women's prison is anybody that's sentenced a year or more. Yeah. So could there be times when that could happen? I suppose, but as a normal path, a normal pace, operationally probably not. I mean, we assist each other as best we can in the business, either jail to jail or prison to jail. I think we have a great working relationship, but there, as far as capacity goes, I think everybody has to be mindful of their capacity.
That's what I was wondering, because I don't know if there's no interaction there, of course. There's definitely space between the men and the women up there, right?
Yep. And that is our intent when we retrofit the Anna McKenna building.
Oh, good.
2 separate pieces.
Good for you.
Yeah, 1 floor will be for the women, 1 floor will be for the men. I mean, there might be a time where there's a special speaker that comes in to talk about a certain message. Sure. And then they would be together.
Now, comparison, is Merrimack County bigger than Sullivan County where you were, or is it small?
Yes. Sullivan County had about 160 beds. Merrimack County has about 237 beds.
Really?
So the capacities are different. The staffing plan is different. Yeah. So yeah, they are. I used to work at the state prison for 17 years.
Oh my goodness!
Before I crossed over to the county system, so this is my 27th year of doing this work.
Gosh. Yep. I hate to say it, but you don't look that old. I mean, really. I mean, for all those years, I mean, I'm surprised you kind of cheated because you don't have gray and white hair yet. Dealing with what you're dealing with every day, I'm surprised.
There's plenty of hair loss.
I know. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And of course, Carol Wayman, Wayman?
Carol Wayman, yeah.
Yeah, of course, I've known her since she was a kid.
Yeah.
Her and her brother. Now I'm going to be lost. He's gonna. Can't think of his name. I had a stroke several years ago, and I'm finding more and more my memory is just gone. And that was part of that happened when I had the stroke, was that my short-term memory was destroyed. Mm-hmm. But I had him as a dispatcher at Merrimack County. And gosh forbid I can Saltmarsh. But I can't. That'll be something I'll think afterwards. But he was such a good guy. Yeah. But I remember them and of course, their parents. And they were good people. But I know she's now your assistant up there?
Yeah, she recently got promoted to the assistant superintendent position.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Yeah, great opportunity for her, and a great thing for the county, a great thing for the department. I look at it as a partnership and a team. So for me, it's about building a strong team, and so it's an addition to the team, and we're growing and working together. That's the key.
How many do you have on in daytime, nighttime, or whatever weekend? Are you at full capacity as far as your help goes? I mean, are you understaffed or are you overstaffed? I mean,
no, I think we're in a good position. Roughly, we have about 4 active vacancies. We're actually bringing on 2 next week, and hopefully by the end of July, we'll have all of our positions filled.
Good.
And I'm happy for that. I think we'll continue to grow and continue to support staffing. But it's something I've been pretty adamant about. It's important to try to keep our staffing plan full.
I know.
If we're asking for it, fill it.
Yeah. I know I enjoyed my years at Merrimack County when I was at the sheriff's office. I was the dispatcher there, and I really enjoyed my years there. And I would have stayed if Dana Smith hadn't lost his re-election bid back in '89, '88. But it was good. It was a good group to work with, and the old days there. Of course, we used to have contact with the jail and with the county home.
Mm-hmm.
They had a security guard that did walk around, and of course the jail itself, they were referred to as Station A, and the other one was Station B. So we were on there doing time checks from 9 o'clock at night to 5:30 in the morning, and we'd call Station A, and they'd answer.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the old days.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'd stayed in dispatch, I'd be in my 40th, almost 40 years, I guess. I had to retire at 30 years, but it was a good time. It was good people to work with.
Absolutely.
But, and of course now they're talking about all the changes of moving, building a brand new courthouse behind the old courthouse down here in Concord. But other than you doing, now, that brings me to mind is other than rehabilitating the old McKenna jail there, what about the one you're in now? Do you foresee in, say, 5 to 10 years, maybe 5 years, of needing more beds or something? And do you think you're at, you said capacity now or close to it?
We have 237 beds. We actually got up to 235 in the spring. Wow. So at the end of the day, if we're doing this model right and doing our corrections programming properly and doing the corrections, community corrections piece, in like I explained earlier, and affect our population by hopefully upwards of 30%, then to answer your question, we shouldn't be looking at additional jail space long term. Because you kind of envision looking at a bucket, right? So much water pours into the bucket, and then you let so much out of the bottom of the bucket. And our goal is to create a system where there's so much coming in and then there's so much coming out in a productive way. I'm not here to tell you this is soft on crime, because it's not. What I am going to say is that this isn't also about avoiding jail or prison either. There's a place for those things. What I am going to say is there's a population that deserves a second chance, perhaps, or two, and that's this population we're trying to work with and get them out in the community and stabilize and stay out there.
Yeah.
If they're not successful, they're not successful. That's what the system's for. But I think there are people that deserve an opportunity or two that perhaps were challenged before to make that happen. They have to earn their way through the system. This is behavior based. They have to earn their good time, and they have to behave, and that's the key to this also.
What is your what seems to be the ages that you're finding of the majority of the ones coming in? Like, is it the 18 to 21? Or the 21 to 24-year-olds? I mean, what is your biggest?
I'd say 19, probably 19 to 24 years old.
Really?
Is the mean age, yeah.
And is a lot of it due to the current drug situation, or is it domestic, or what is the thing?
We did some data back in, let's see, last November, December, and we reflected after doing that data that roughly 93% of the population that came in had a substance abuse issue of some sort or another. So what you have spiraling from that is all the issues tied to it, right? Property crimes, assault of behavior, and that is the pieces that spiral from those issues. And there are other crimes, but that's just to name a few that spiral from that issue. And then 55% of that population have a co-occurring issue. So you have a substance abuse issue coupled with a mental health issue. And it's our goal to, as best we can, treat those people in that group as best we can. I will say that our jail systems in this state and throughout the country are the largest mental health centers in the country, and that is really not appropriate. But it is what it is, and today we should not be receiving some of the people we do. There's no real right to refuse. So it is a very complicated thing for my staff to deal with, and I give them kudos to do the work they do. Corrections today is a very challenging environment. You can go from 0 to 100 in a matter of seconds, and I think the staff at Merrimack County Department of Corrections take those on and take the challenge and manage it, and are true professionals about it.
Hmm. I was trying to think back we were talking because, when I first started at Merrimack County, I think Ed Cox was the jail superintendent up there.
Mm-hmm.
And then after him was Selden Nason, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, I don't know who took over after that. I can't remember who some of the names were, but is there any area up there that is like a historical room or something that would have pictures of these gentlemen or nothing?
Not
like
that I've seen. Sounds like an interesting project, but no, not that I've seen.
I mean, we always see wings and donated this or who's that
Right.
and everything else, but what about the people themselves who were jail superintendents? I mean, really, you guys have a big responsibility there.
Right. It makes all the sense in the world.
It's too bad that here we are naming buildings or whatever after politicians or whatever, but I mean, like I said, Ed Cox, Jean was his wife, but Ed Cox was there for quite a while. Yeah, didn't I say Ed Cox?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Nason, Selden Nason, he was from Webster.
Mm-hmm.
His wife was June. She used to dispatch part-time for me. But they were there right through, I mean, in the 80s that I know of.
Okay.
And then after that, I'm not sure. But, but they did so much in the early days. It's too bad that there isn't something that you can, like an honor roll or something like that to pay honor to them,
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about that.
Sounds like a good project. We'll take a look at it.
But it just, now, for the viewers who are not familiar, those who are sentenced to the House of Correction, those who are in the House of Correction are for...
So the way the system works is that we have pretrial offenders in our jail in New Hampshire, and then you have people that are sentenced up to a year are in a jail environment. So you have pretrial and people sentenced up to a year. Anybody that's sentenced to a year or more goes into the state correction system.
Okay, so up to a year they stay at Merrimack County.
They're sentenced up to a year or less,
Yeah.
they would stay in the jail system.
Yeah.
Anybody sentenced to a year or more goes
State
to the
prison.
state prison system on an average typical scenario.
But the House of Correction is just for those who are awaiting trial.
Correct.
You must have had, and I won't put you on the spot, but you must have had your hands full in the last couple of months with one of the famous gentleman that was up there being detained. I can't imagine what you must have went through with all the press up there and TV, everything else up there. That must have been quite a challenge for you.
I found that it was, but I think at the same time, as I spoke to several reporters about the issue, that yes, it is a high-profile situation, but my staff will be professionals and they'll manage the situation, and they did, and they will continue to. I think it's the nature of the work we do. We don't necessarily, as I spoke earlier, have an opportunity to say, oh, not that one.
Mm.
We don't have a right to refuse, so what comes through our back gate, we manage it. And I am proud of the staff and how they manage themselves through that situation. But I also, after doing this work as long as I have, know that those challenges exist, and at times it can be difficult. Because at times you have a high-profile case like that, or perhaps you have somebody in there that has a very complicated criminal history, and you have to be professional and do your job, and not be judgmental.
Yeah.
Which is truly a challenge in this
Oh,
profession.
I'm sure.
So
I'm sure. Now, I remember her name, Carol Anderson. She was up there. Was she a superintendent?
yes,
Okay. That's right. She
was before Mr. White. So
Okay.
Mr. White had come in after her.
Okay. Because Carol Anderson was a dispatcher for the Concord Police Department way back
Mm-hmm.
in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And then she came over to county. So, okay.
Mhm.
My history, I'm a historian. I love history, and I just keep thinking about that. But it's just amazing, though, how something like that has mushroomed.
Mm-hmm.
When you think of the old jail itself up there, and now look at it. You know, it's just amazing how crime has picked up.
Yep.
Do you have any portion of Merrimack County where these come from more than another? Is it Concord, or is it Franklin? Is it Pittsfield? Hooksett? Is there any one particular area that you've noticed, Ross?
In all fairness, I think the biggest thing you see is that we are pinched between two cities. You have the city of Franklin and the city of Concord. That being said, one would say that those are your two biggest contributors to the population,
Really?
just because of population density and size. To say today one's larger than the other, I wouldn't be able to speak to that at the moment because I don't have the data to give you, but
Yeah,
I would
that's
say
right.
one would be very clear. One would say, to be very clear, you have two cities. They're probably per capita your largest groups of people that may contribute to our environment. To say one's higher than the other, I'd have to take a look at the data. We do have the data. We do know what towns and cities are contributing to the jail. To what level of quality, I wouldn't be able to speak to without it being in front of me, but I can rest assured the two largest pieces that come into our population are those two cities, just
Yeah.
because of the density and size of them. If you picture the town of Salisbury, for
Yep.
example,
Yep.
compared to Franklin, that's what I'm getting at.
Yep.
Not to say that we don't receive anybody from the town of Salisbury, you just have to look at
Oh,
it in
sure.
that way.
I can remember as a dispatcher boy, Northfield was always a hotbed. Northfield, Allenstown, another one. Pittsfield, those areas. Oh boy, Friday and Saturday nights, they were always on the go with the rest and stuff. You know, it was crazy. But it's just sad to see that instead of decreasing, crime is just continue up. You know, and it's especially when you see your young people. That's what's sad. You know, no matter how much education they get in high school or whatever, it's the things that they get influenced once they get out or whatever. It's just so sad because, you know, they have, I'm probably a funny remark to make, but I'm sure they're all gifted in some ways. They have things that they can offer for the good of the community.
Right.
But because they get that one thing, they fall into, and then their life is ruined. You know, and you can only hope that somehow you can salvage what they've got and hopefully get them back out and be more constructive.
Absolutely. That's
You
one of
know?
our goals.
Yeah. So,
With those population that want to respond and behave and do the right thing, absolutely. And for most, it's a struggle because perhaps they haven't necessarily had those opportunities or the guidance
Yeah.
or the direction.
Yeah.
So that's part of our programming model, is to work with them on that and maybe retool their thinking process. Because it's not purely a substance abuse program, it's actually we get into their thinking process.
Yep.
One of the courses we teach is thinking for a change, so it's a matter of regrouping their thought process and how they go about making a thoughtful decision versus a not so thoughtful decision.
Sure. Well, we're coming to a close of Around Town, and we've been talking with Ross Cunningham, who is the superintendent for the Merrimack County House of Correction, Merrimack County Jail in Boscawen. And if you have any questions or you do tours up there at all,
Absolutely.
contact him at 796-3600.
Yep.
And he'll be more than happy to talk with you and to arrange something up there. And please keep me in mind about that Christmas project that may be coming up, because the Grange would like to do something there. So
Absolutely.
So with that in mind, I feel that we're very fortunate at Merrimack County to have you as our superintendent, and you always know we're here to help you out there. So
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on.
well, thanks to my director, Ian Marx, and with that, you have a great weekend, great day, and I'm your host, Dick Patten, on Around Town.